Hello and welcome back, and today I want to talk about a brand new Synology upgrade. I want to talk about their series of 10Gbe PCIe upgrade cards known as the E10G18. Okay, so let's be honest, that intro to this video is probably one of the dullest I've ever done. As model names go, these two new cards from Synology are pretty bland. I even have to keep reminding myself off screen it's the E10G18-T1 or T2, depending on whether you want one 10Gbe port or two. Now, this isn't the first time Synology have been playing around with 10Gbe, and it's definitely not the first time they've been playing around with 10G-T. And if you are looking for a 10Gbe, 10G-T NAS, then do look at the DS1817. But what this is two cards that are being released using the new Quantia chip that's been featured quite heavily across 10Gbe all the way through 2018. And it gives you the ability to upgrade your NAS to 10 Gigabit Ethernet. So what does that entail? Well, if you've got a Synology NAS that has a PCIe slot and you've owned it since maybe 2011, chances are, as long as your NAS wasn't released prior to 2011, then chances are it's compatible. If you want to know which units are compatible, do visit the NAS Compare article in the description, and that lists all the compatible devices right now with those two cards. Why 10G-T? Well, once again, this isn't the first time Synology have gone into 10Gbe. Most of the NAS brands have, and 2018 is fast becoming the big year of change for this Ethernet connection. When it comes to it, most of the devices we use in our homes or offices utilise 1 GBE. That's 1 Gigabit Ethernet, 1000 bits. Now, megabits. Now, this speed that you've got throughout your home network, nothing you really use at home maxes that connection out. Most NASs don't really max it out unless you're editing. But at the moment, because file sizes are getting so big, it doesn't take many users backed up together to need 10Gbe before the bandwidth on that network gets a little bit fragile. Moreover, and this definitely goes out to photo video editors more than anyone else, if you want to edit huge files, and 4K movies, big photos you've taken on shoots with those big raw camera images, 1 GBE access to your NAS is not fast enough to edit. More than likely, if you try to store a bunch of raw files for photo or video on your NAS, your Synology NAS, and you try to use your network connection, not the internet, your home network over 1 GBE to edit those files, chances are your system will keep hanging, programs will crash, and it's just not reliable. The way around this is 10 GBE. 10 times the speed of that you have from standard network devices that use RJ45, and 10 GBE gives you 10 times that speed and bandwidth, which means you can edit those files easily. So if you're a Mac user and you've got a super fast machine without much storage and you just want to keep backing up your storage elsewhere, that's where 10 GBE can be really helpful. You back up all of the files, or even the raw editing, you transfer it onto the NAS and you can edit directly and then use the NAS to distribute those files. Now, Synology has had SFP solutions for quite a long time with fewer of these 10G-T solutions, but as 10Gbe has now been cracking more into the small business market and indeed home market, we have seen that although SFP or fibre can cover huge distances, it is just a little bit too expensive for a number of you out there, and it's not deemed to be the best overall solution for 10Gbe. Even the cables cost more, and if a cable exceeds maybe 5 to 7 meters, you have to pop a transceiver on either end, which is even more expensive. 10G-T uses the same physical technology as the connections we already have, RJ45. The result is that it is backwards compatible, so you can use a 10Gbe switch, for example, and still connect all of your 1Gbe devices. But moreover, if you introduce 10Gbe into your network, you can do it gradually. Or also, 10G-T is cheaper overall. The cables are, you get Cat6A or Cat6 or Cat7 cables. These cost about a quid, £1 a meter, if that, much cheaper. On top of that, once you get a 10Gbe card installed in your machine will plug and play, pick up that card very quickly, due to the drivers just being a hybrid version of those original 1 GBE. Now, this card is compatible with Synology NASs, but also, although Synology haven't admitted it, I think it's going to be compatible with PCs and other Linux servers as well. And the reason is because of that Quantia chip, that controller on board that has Windows drivers, that there are multiple drivers out there for Linux. So chances are these two cards, this 1 and 2 port card, are going to be compatible with more than just Synology NAS. And also it's a PCIe 3x4 card, so you're making the most, but of course PCIe is backwards compatible as well, so you don't have to worry about that. So these are the two cards. Once again, the E10G18-T1 and T2, 1 and 2 ports respectively. We've still got no confirmed release date on these, but if you do own a NAS with a PCIe slot and you're wondering about editing directly on this device, because remember, sorry, just to interrupt myself, remember you can connect a PC or Mac device directly to the NAS with a cable, no router or anything enabled, to get that great editing speed as well, which really cuts out a lot of other outside costs. If you are interested in going ahead with upgrading your system and you've got a PCIe slot, these are the cards to go for right now. There are some other cards out there from Intel, but they're 2 or 3 times the cost, and it's just not worth it. These cards should work out somewhere around the 100, 150 mark. If it costs more than that, I'll be surprised, but that's where I think the price is going to live on the 1-port card, and definitely 200 or so, maybe 180 to 200 for the 2-port. So if you are interested in getting hold of these, do visit span.com. If you want to stay abreast of this or learn more about compatibility and more details about these cards, visit the NAS Compare article below. And don't forget to subscribe to be staying ahead of the trend and knowing more about NAS as it happens. Cheerio, and thanks for watching.